you like gambling? Of course you do. What kind of loser doesn't like gambling? So for all you gambling chads out there, I found the perfect anime for you. I mean, the translated title of this anime is literally Chronic Gambler, and it's all about this school, the most private of private schools. Only the elite of the elite get in here. And by elite, I mean rich. Or basically, people who go to private schools see this school in the same way people who go to normal schools see private schools. This is Yumeko, and she's recently transferred to this school. Why? Well, she loves gambling. Like, really loves gambling. Maybe a little too much. Every single guy in her class is calling dibs on her, except this one guy. He's asking the real questions.
What kind of name is that?
This guy decides to take Yumeko under his wing and explains what happens at this school and the gambling culture behind it. He then explains that if you lose all your money, then you become a house pet. Like this guy is. Some context before I explain what a house pet is. This is very important and completely relevant, so pay attention. Rich people love to exploit poor people. It's what they do. But because there are only rich people at this school, there are no poor people to exploit. So what happens is they make each other lose all their money through gambling, and then once you're poor, you're no longer considered human. You're just a house pet. Just remember when you watch this anime that this is how rich people want to treat us, okay? If you take anything away from this anime, let it be that rich people are the scum of the earth. Anyway, Yumeko is led back to the classroom by Pet Boy. I forgot his name, so that's what I'm going to call him. And Blondie is there waiting to challenge her, because someone told her that Yumeko knows nothing about gambling. But Yumeko is hyped at the chance to gamble, because she knows that you can only lose 100% of your money, and that you're always only 32 hands of blackjack away from Elon Musk. Anyway, the game Blondie challenges her to is straight out of a fever dream. Or maybe this is a common game in Japan and I'm just uncultured. I guess we'll never know. It's a game of rock, paper, scissors, but no ordinary rock, paper, scissors. The crowd draws rock, paper, or scissors on a card and puts it in a box. Then you draw 3 cards out the box and try and beat your opponent with them. But there's some subtleties to this game, like if you have a lot of rocks, your opponent probably does as well, so you want to use paper, but then they're probably thinking this as well, so do you go scissors to beat their paper? Or are they gonna go scissors to beat your paper, so do you do rock to beat their scissors? It's a huge mind game, and the only real influence you have over the mind game is your stake. So if you want to even play this mind game, you gotta gamble. But like any game you're new to, you gotta take the first few games slow, feel your opponent out a bit. Well, forget everything I said, and we're going balls to the wall from minute 1. And Yumeko immediately lost. And are you even surprised? I mean, look at the matchup. Yumeko is on her first day, and Blondie is a seasoned addict. So now Yumeko's lost everything. So all she has left to do is now go home in shame. But wait! She was carrying 10 million yen with her this entire time. What luck! Yumeko's willingness to keep playing comes from her mindset. A winner never quits and a quitter never wins. Blondie over here is bewildered because how can you read a person who just carries 10 million yen around in cash? Everywhere they go. You can't, that's how. Knowing that she's now dealing with a complete psychopath, Blondie has every right to run out of here with the money she just won. But like any addict, she decides to win 10 times more than she already just won. And she bets 10 million as well. And loses everything. All her money just gone. Now nice and snug in Yumeko's purse. And to make things worse, that was everything. Blondie is now poor and a house pet, and all her friends hate her, because she's not a person anymore. She's a poor person. Ugh. Pet Boy speaks to Yumeko after the game, and Yumeko is like, yeah, I knew she was cheating from minute 1. And Pet Boy's like, oh, how did you know that? And she's like, oh, it was so obvious. Only an idiot wouldn't notice. Then she explains how she knew.
I figured all eyes would be on me because I was one of the gamblers. But no, that's where I was wrong. The class wasn't busy watching me. They had their eyes locked on the person who was standing directly behind me.
Because of his cheating, she found the game more interesting and asked him to be friends with her. And as a token of their new friendship, she pays off his debt with 5 million of her winnings. Bear in mind, he was only that far in debt because he lost the game to Blondie, so she basically just gave him his own money back. This is what gambling is all about. Not the winning, but the friends you make along the way. The next day, Blondie's new life as a house pet begins, and she is an abused house pet. It's this kind of gambling culture that makes this school great. No one cares about your grades, how athletic you are, or even who you are as a person. The only thing that matters is if you're good at gambling, and it's for these reasons that Yumeko is in love with this school, both mentally and physically? I don't really know how to put this. Basically, it's turning her on. Anyways, news of Yumeko's spectacular victory is spread around the school, and now a student council member wants to challenge her to a game. Some more background. To get into the school council, you have to be an amazing gambler. So naturally, this girl is quite good. And it's only Yumeko's second day, so she might want to turn this game down and play against some other small fries to improve her skills. And nope, she accepts the challenge. The rules of this game are simple. 2 decks of cards are placed face down on the table, and you have to find the matching pair. Itsuki, that's her name, she wants to play for 20 million yen. But Yumeko doesn't have that type of money, and I refuse to believe that. Like, if you're just lugging 10 million yen around around with you everywhere you go, then you gotta have more money than that in the bank. But Itsuki believes her and says that the school council can lend her the 20 million. Now, why would the school council give 20 million of their own money to play against them? Well, have you ever heard of a loan shark? Because that's basically what this is. So with their new loan in hand, they play the game. And once again, Yumeko gets swept straight away. And like the winner she is, she immediately asks for a rematch. Now, Itsuki is 20 million up. She doesn't have to play again. And why would she? Yumeko didn't even have the first 20 million. It was borrowed, so she definitely doesn't have another 20 million. But Itsuki decides to indulge in her kink. Now, I would never kink shame anyone, unless I thought it was funny. But this is the type of thing you keep secret at all costs. Itsuki likes to collect nails. People's nails. The people that she's beaten. So if Yumeko wants to play again, then she's gotta risk her nails. And being a gambling addict, she accepts. Because the pain of losing your nails isn't even 1% of the pain you feel when you stop gambling. And just before they start playing, Itsuki adds 2 new twists. Twist 1, 2 more decks of cards have been added to the game. And twist 2, she's cheating now. There are these little markers on the cards symbolizing what they are, and they disappear very quickly. Itsuki thinks this is basically a guaranteed win. But then Yumeko on her first turn wins the entire game. And you might think, oh, this is bad for Itsuki, but it gets worse. Yumeko reveals to her that she knew the cards were made by her father's company, the largest toy company in Japan. And then she reveals to her that it would be a real shame if people found out that the company made cheat cards. Why, it would start a scandal and bankrupt the company. I don't really know how this sort of thing would bankrupt a company, but Itsuki seems to believe that it would. Now Yumeko wants to play with her again. A different game this time. And Itsuki is in a position where she can't refuse Yumeko. The cards are stacked against her. And yet, somehow she refuses by crying. A lot. After this, she's kicked out of the school council. Maybe because she lost, or maybe because she cried. Or maybe, just maybe, because of the nail collection. Believe whatever you want, the plot's the same regardless. After this, Yumeko wants to do some more gambling. Like, chill out, girl, you've been here 2 days and already ruined 2 people's lives. Like, you don't need to make it a third on day 2, relax. But she can't hear me, and even if she could, I doubt she'd listen. So she finds an after-school club dedicated to gambling, which don't really narrow it down here because they're all dedicated to gambling. She finds a club that's gambling right now, and look who it is! It's Blondie! She just lost 39 million yen! Meaning that instead of being 10 million in debt, she's now 49 million in debt. And she holds Yumeko personally responsible for this. Not her own personal skill or decisions. Nope, Yumeko. Anyway, now Yumeko wants to play this game, and the foundations of the game is roulette, but with a few alterations. The roulette board is much smaller, you have to choose an exact number, can be multiple numbers, but has to be an exact number, no odds, evens things, or like, I don't fucking know. It's played by putting some mini knives in a cup, then putting the cup on the roulette board, shaking it, and if they land on the number, 2 things could happen. And depending on those first 2 things, 2 more things could happen. Thing number 1, if the knife doesn't land on yours or your opponent's number, nothing happens. But if it does land on yours or your opponent's number, 2 more things can happen. The knives can land 2 different ways, life or death. Life is if the knife doesn't dig into the board, and death is if the knife does dig in. If you get life, then your opponent owes you 40 times the money you bet on that number, and if you get death, then you owe your opponent 40 times the money you put on that number. So you can quite quickly see how 1 million can be turned into 40 million, and you can go into debt mega quick. Just like always, Yumeko decides to go all in on round 1, and just as they're starting, the school council president walks in to observe the game. Yumeko is suspicious that the president is here to cheat and make her lose, and Yuriko is suspicious that the president is here to cheat and make her lose. In truth, the president wants them both to lose. So the cup goes down, then back up. I have no idea how to make this gameplay sound interesting. But what happens next is interesting. The knives didn't land on Yumeko's number, but they did land on her opponent's number. And they landed on life. So now Yumeko owes her 2 billion yen. Or $20 million. 20 million doesn't really sound that bad next to 2 billion, but 20 million is still an astronomical amount. I mean, it's so much that the great Yumeko, destroyer of wallets, is now a house pet. And she's way too into being a house pet. But before she goes even deeper into it, she discovers that just like everyone else at this school, Yuriko was cheating. And the president was in on it too. She was just there to distract Yumeko while the knives were moved around on the board. But Yumeko ain't mad. She's actually amazed that they managed to pull this off. Pet Boy, I still don't know his name, and he's like the only boy in the anime so far. He tries to pay Yumeko 1 million yen to try and pay her back the 5 million he already owes her, to help pay off her 2 million debt. But number 1, 1 million won't even put a dent in 2 billion. It's literally 0.05% of 2 billion. And number 2, Yumeko don't even want the money, because the council haven't asked her to pay the money back yet. Instead, they've given her a life plan. Now, what is a life plan, I hear you ask? Well, isn't it obvious? It's a plan for your life, dummy. From where you're gonna work, to who you're gonna marry, and how many kids you're gonna have. And it's all decided by the school council. Now, I hear a lot of people wondering, why does the school council have this much power? And to that I have to say, haven't you ever seen an anime before? This is a pretty average amount of power for a school council to have. Anyway, now that Yumeko has no rights, a group of boys who thought she was hella sexy in episode 1 decide to take her into an alleyway. Now, some background on this group of boys. They are definitely the type of people who'd be in the Conservative Party society at uni. And you know who these people are. Alright, they're the richest people you've ever met, and they're pricks about it. And this is another example of them being pricks. When she's in the alleyway, they try and make her strip. And this is just allowed, because she has some debt. Now, imagine this person, the Conservative Party society guy, imagine if they had the power to make you strip whenever they wanted. You would be be the most abused soul on earth. And that's perfectly normal here. This is how the rich want to treat us. They're not your friend, alright? They're never your friend. They're not on your side. They all went to that island and they want you to forget about it. Anyway, she goes halfway through with the stripping and stops because she got bored. And one of the guys, we'll call him June, because that's his name, grabs her by the throat and threatens her. Then the beautification officer arrives. Fakest job title ever, by the way. And she comes and saves her by challenging them all to Russian roulette. But no one want to play, so she plays by herself. And then gets off on it. I'm not here to kink shame, and the nail thing was way worse anyway, so I don't care. Now we have an announcement. The school council is sponsoring a game. In fact, there will be many games. The debt swapping game. Basically, if you win, all your debt will be paid off by the school council. What do they gain out of this? Who knows? Who cares?
I do.
Blondie is still crazy mad at Yumeko and can't bear to be near her for even a second. And would you look at that, they're in the same team on the debt swapping game, along with June and the girl he bullied and still bullies relentlessly. Here's how the game works. It's 2-card Indian poker. Yeah, I also didn't know what that was, so let me explain. No jokers or face cards. You'll be given 2 cards. You can look at the first card and everyone else can look at the second card. Best hand is a pair. Weakest hand is a pig, which is where neither number or suit match. If 2 people have a pair, then the biggest number wins. Also, everyone is given 10 chips and their debt is divided into these 10 chips. So people with large debts chips are worth more than people with small debts chips. Also, cheating is allowed in this game, unless you discover it and tell the moderator. Then they'll stop the cheating from happening again, but any gains made by the cheating will be allowed to stand. Also, June ain't even a house pet and he's playing. He owes his friend like 10 million yen, and he has the money to pay him back, but he's so confident that he's gonna win, he thinks this game is just free money. And the fact that he could be 2 billion in debt by the end of it doesn't seem to faze him at all. Based. After a few rounds, he accuses Yumeko and Blondie of cheating, but he has no proof, evidence, or motive, so it's quickly forgotten about. But the only reason he accused them of cheating is because he's cheating himself. And he's losing. He's completely freaking out, and Blondie and Yumeko are living completely rent-free in his head. Eventually, Yumeko figures out how June is cheating. Basically, this poor girl is telling him what card he has based on, like, some little signal she gives him. The referee starts thinking about how to make this stop, but Yumeko convinces her to let it keep happening. And you might be wondering why. Well, it's because this girl loves mind games, almost as much as she loves gambling. And this confidence freaks June out, because how can you be so confident in your own abilities that you convince the referee to let your opponent keep cheating? Anyways, as the game goes on, June continues to get his ass kicked, all the way to 3rd place. And there's only 1 turn left, but there's still a chance of him winning. And to guarantee his win, he's making this poor girl lose so all of her tokens go to him. But this enrages Yumeko, because this would ruin the gamble and fix the game. So Yumeko gives this girl a speech, telling her that the boy has caused her so much hurt, and now is her opportunity to get some revenge. And she obliges, but this doesn't make June lose. And to make things even more crazy, Yumeko ruins hers and Blondie's plan on purpose, all to make Naomi win. That's her name. We only just found it out. It wasn't that important. So things turned out bad for June, but it's okay, because he didn't come last. Or at least that's what he thought, because now it's time for Yumeko's big reveal. Her and Blondie have been working together from the start. Like the start. Not that start, this start. It was before the game started when they went to collect their chips. They just swapped them around. And this is just okay. It is cheating, but no one figured it out, so it's fine. So Yumeko's chips were worth basically 10 times less, and Blondie's chips were 10 times more expensive. So June lost, and he's ruined. In his rage, he tries to attack Blondie and gets tased for it. And on top of that, he's now a house pet 310 million yen in debt. Because of Blondie's winning the debt swapping game, she is no longer a house pet. But Yumeko is. She has the money to pay off her debt. Actually, it turns out she's quite minted. But a house pet she remains. Everyone thinks that she's still a house pet so she can challenge the school council president to a match. And when a house pet challenges someone to a match, the person can't refuse. But before that can happen, the beautification officer arrests Yumeko for not paying off her debt, which blatantly isn't a thing, but we'll roll with it. So she's taken to a dungeon and then forced to play a game against the beautification officer. But they're not playing for money. They're playing not to get shot. Basically, at the start of the game, they're each given a revolver and they can fully load it with 1 round, load it with none, do whatever they want with it. Then they put the revolvers away and are given 5 cards to try and line up with the same cards Pet Boy's doing in the other room. If you get the cards righter than your opponent, then you get given one of the 2 revolvers and you get to shoot your opponent. But before that interesting game starts, we're taken to a bit of a boring thing with Blondie and the school council president. She's unhappy that Blondie's no longer a house pet because she spent all this time writing her a life plan. But despite that, she's very impressed at how Blondie got out of debt, because this is like a new thing. Nobody really does this at the school. The president wants Blondie to join the council for this. I mean, it was mostly Yumeko getting her out of debt, but the president doesn't need to know this. But Blondie refuses, and it becomes quite obvious that the president isn't used to rejection. Now we get taken back to the interesting part. The beautification officer might be the only person in this school crazier than Yumeko, because it's the first round, she has no idea if Yumeko is going to cheat, and she fully loaded her revolver. And this didn't matter, because the beautification officer won, and now she gets to shoot Yumeko. Now, we still have no idea whose gun this is, but Yumeko does, and she warns the beautification officer not to fire, because from Yumeko's point of view, it was obvious it was her gun. Because the barrel was filled with the lipstick she stuffed inside. This means that if the gun's fired, it will create a huge amount of pressure, turning the projectile weapon into an explosive weapon that you're holding in your hand. The BO, I'm I'm calling her that now because I can't be bothered to say beautification officer anymore. The BO doesn't listen to Yumeko and pulls the trigger anyway. But Yumeko thought this would happen, and to prevent injury, she just didn't load any bullets into it. After Yumeko messes with the BO a little bit more, they play another game. This time Yumeko wins, but luckily for Yumeko, there were no bullets in her gun again, because she doesn't actually want to shoot the BO. This is like the BO's thing. She just wants to get railed by oh god, that's a bad word. She just wants to get shot by Yumeko. However, this lack of death has annoyed the BO quite a lot, and they're no longer playing a card game anymore. Instead, they're just pointing their guns at each other. Eventually, she calms down and they go back to playing the card game. In this third game, well, probably a little before this, Yumeko figures out that like everyone else in this school, the BO is cheating. But unlike everyone else, she's cheating to lose. This amuses Yumeko even less than when people cheat to win. In fact, it makes her furious, because now gambling is no fun. So entirely out of spite, Yumeko loses on purpose. This ruins the game for the BO because all she wants to do is get shot and die. Yumeko tells the BO that she lost on purpose because cheating, and I quote, ruined the gambling, which is a bit of an odd way to phrase being forced into assisting someone's suicide. After this game, Aitsuki starts sucking up to Yumeko, entirely because she thinks Yumeko is going to try and become school president, as she sees this as her only way to get back onto the council. Then we find out that that council she wants to get back onto so badly is in complete shambles. The president's left for 2 weeks on a private helicopter. Like, what the hell is the budget of this school council? Then we find out that everyone who lost to Yumeko is being shunned by the rest of the council. Even the girl who beat her is being shunned because everyone knows she only beat Yumeko because she cheated. This guy wants to kick them all off the council like he did with Aitsuki, and then he wants to have a run at being president himself. But he wants to do this quick because he thinks Yumiko's going to do the same thing. Now we get introduced to another member of the council, an idol. We'll call her Taylor Swift, because her fans all love her to death and she secretly hates them. She wants to play a match against Yumeko, but before she explains the stakes of the game, she goes on a rant about just how much she hates her fans. Why would she tell a total stranger this? I'll tell you, because just like the real Taylor Swift, she hates her fans that much. Anyway, after her rant, she explains the stakes, and they're simple. If Yumeko wins, she gets 50 million yen, and if the idol wins, Yumeko has to join her as another idol, which doesn't seem so bad actually. But Yumeko adds a new stake to this game. She recorded Taylor talking about her pure disdain for her fans, and now if Yumeko wins, she'll release this audio to the public. And if this audio gets leaked, then Taylor's career is over. The game will take place right after Taylor's concert, so that she has a biased audience to watch. This will be very important for one of the games. Instead of playing one game and having that solve everything, they're going to play multiple games, and the winner of each game gets to place a marker on the noughts and crosses board. And the overall goal is to win the noughts and crosses game. The first game they do is a singing game. Whoever can get the crowd to cheer the loudest for them wins. And we're in a room full of Taylor's fans, and she just did a concert for them. So who do you think these nerds are gonna cheer for? Also, who allowed these guys to be drawn like this? There have been like 4 men in this entire anime. One is a useless pet. The other, if he's not now, is definitely a future sex offender. The other is a scheming nerd. And the rest, I know there's more than one, but they're like one collective dude. It's just a crowd of people drawn to look like total losers who are hated by the woman they love. Anyway, who do you think is gonna win this game? Well, you're wrong, because Yumeko just won. The girl's got range, what can I say? They skip showing us some other games, but a game they do show us is where they have to guess a random audience member's birth month. And the random person selected is Blondie. Now, you would think that this is a slam dunk victory for Yumeko, but she actually has no idea when Blondie's birthday is, so she just guesses. And mathematically, when you have to get the closest answer, just pick the middle number. It gives you the best mathematical chance. And that's exactly what Yumeko did, and she won. And this makes her win the entire game. The recording is then played by Taylor, and all her fans hear how she really feels about them. And just like I think would happen in real life, the fans don't care. They still love Taylor. They still love Taylor Swift, because they're total losers. Then, because Taylor couldn't have lost based on talent or skill, she decides to blame this guy. He denies it, obviously. Then Yumeko accuses him of plotting against Taylor as well. He also denies this. Then Yumeko challenges him to a match. The winner will be deemed most correct. He declines this match too. But then she upgrades this challenge to an official match, which he has to accept. But house pets can only get one official match, so now she can't challenge the president. This shocks everyone. But then Yumeko reminds them all that she never actually said she wanted to be president. They just forced that upon her. The game they're going to play is called Choice Poker, and the rules are simple. You're given 5 cards at the start of every game. You can return any of these cards to the dealer, but you have to show your opponent the cards you're returning. Then the betting starts, and the person who bets the most money decides if the weaker or stronger hand wins. Basically, whoever has the most money has the best chance of winning. Yumeko is playing with 310 million, and this guy's playing with 1 billion. He starts by betting 100 million, and Yumeko raises him to 210 million. This is round 1, by the way. And fair play to her, she wins. But he's so confident, he just straight up tells her, I don't care if you're better at gambling than me, I'm gonna win through sheer financial might alone. The guy's so cocky the next round he just shows Yumeko his cards and then just outbets her. She has to go all in and he just raises her by 1 chip and has the right to choose, and obviously he wins. And now Yumeko is out of money. He thinks the game is over after that, but Yumeko goes on a hunt for some more money. So she asks Aitsuki to back her up. And because this guy used Aitsuki as a pawn and then just disposed of her, she decides to join Yumeko's side and is then used as a pawn all over again. With this newly acquired wealth, she does exactly the same thing that lost her the last game. She goes balls to the wall and goes all in, and then she's just outbid by 1 chip. So Aitsuki asks if she can add 10 million more to the game, and the vice president allows this. Then they get outbid again, so she asks if she can add another 10 million to the game, and then they get outbid again. And this goes on and on and on, and Yumeko is loving every second of it. And then her fun is completely ruined by 100 million being added to the game. Aitsuki has already bet every penny she has. She's got nothing left. So Yumeko tells her to bet her life. If she does this and Yumeko loses, she will be a house pet. After a lot of deliberating about her entire life being ruined for this one game just so that she can advance to the position of this girl she barely knows, Yumeko tells her that it would be mega lame for her to quit now. So she rips off all her nails and bets her life. Only to be told it's completely against the rules to bet someone's life as collateral. Obviously. So she just ripped out all of her nails for nothing. But there is one person in the entire school who has the power to change the rules. The president! But she's away right now. Or is she? The vice president removes her mask, revealing that she was the president all along. And then she makes the rules change, deciding that Aitsuki's life is worth 10 billion. Now this is bad news for this guy, because his entire plan was to win based on financial might, but he's a few billion short. So he decides to bet his own life. It's decided he's worth 10 billion as well. So now he has a very comfortable lead. Aitsuki's in shambles, and Yumeko don't really care. Aitsuki tries to find other people's lives that they could bet, but no one in the room is really worth anything, so the betting phase is over. And because he has some pretty strong cards, and earlier he saw Yumeko discard 2 queens, so he knows that she's going for the weaker hand, he decides to choose stronger hand. He's going to bankrupt Yumeko and make sure that Aitsuki marries him in her life plan. However, he had a weaker hand and just lost the game. In his own words,
not just defeat, a massacre.
And then just to rub salt into the wound, Yumeko explains to him exactly how he could have won. If he just used his financial might properly, he would have stomped her. If he went for stronger hand every time and folded when he wasn't 100% sure he had it, he would have won easily. But he got distracted and dragged into a dick measuring contest with a woman, also that he could prove he was better than Aitsuki. Someone he had already proved he was better than by kicking her off the school council. This loss then visibly ages the now poor old man. Poor meaning 2 things in this metaphor. After he's literally carried out on a stretcher, Yumeko and the president sit down to chat. And of course, the only thing they talk about is gambling. And then, naturally, they decide to have a match. But they're not going to gamble right now. But they will soon. Before the match, Yumeko and all her favourite victims gather together, and they all think of different ways they can cheat. But she will hear none of it. She's going to win this legit or not at all. And besides, she says that cheating is just going to take all the fun out of the gambling. The next day is the day of the big gamble, and the president asks Yumeko if she likes being at this school. And this is what she has to say.
Where everything is determined by gambling. Heaven if you win, hell if you lose. Everyone living in fear of a fall from grace. There's nowhere else like this in the entire world. Yakao Academy is more than a home for me. It's my paradise.
Complete nutter. Or, just maybe, peak gambling mindset. Who am I to say? Because they both love this school so much, the loser of this game must leave the school forever. Everyone's a little confused by the stakes, because the winner gets nothing, but Yumeko and the president know what's up. They get to gamble, so no matter what happens, they're both winners. Now the rules of this game are beyond me, so I'm gonna let the president explain them.
The game shall be called the Tarot Cards of Destiny. The 22 cards of the major arcana each bear a different meaning. 3 of us will each choose 1 card from the deck. The cards of this arcana are marked with a number, 1 through 21. This shall be our score. If it's upright, it will be positive. If reversed, then they're negative. If the grand total ends up positive, Yumeko shall win. But if it's negative, then I will. However, there is a special card amongst the arcana, the Fool. Its value is marked 0, much like the Joker. Regardless of what is revealed, Yumeko wins if the Fool is upright, and if reversed, then I win.
For the very last episode of this anime, quite an exciting anime I might add, the very last game was not a very climactic ending. Yumeko picks a pretty bad card, the president picks a good card, now it's entirely up to Pet Boy to save Yumeko. And there's this card with a strange mark on it, and everyone suspects it's the card the president was holding, the card that would win Yumeko the game. But instead of picking this card, Pet Boy decides to gamble on a different card, and make his own choice. This decision to gamble his own way brings Yumeko to the verge of climax, and he picks a card that doesn't win Yumeko the game, but it also doesn't lose her the game. So no one has to leave the school. Kind of an anticlimax, but I suppose they had to make season 2 possible somehow. And I hope you subscribe so that you can join me for that season 2. Thanks for watching, I really hope you've enjoyed. I know I haven't uploaded for ages, but trust me, more uploads are coming. I'm going to upload more consistently, I promise. Subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!